So the first thing I think that is very important to realize is that the LDS are definitely not as kooky as a lot of people might think. The first couple of things they might hear is they have a golden Bible, they don't drink coffee, and they believe Satan is Jesus's brother. And that those might be the only things or points of context that they have.
Yeah.
And that is why I think there's a lot of bad rep that comes onto them. And so because of that, it's very easy to be, not necessarily malicious, but just kind of very eerie about them. Like, oh, you're Mormon. And so, there are things that you very, very well should be worried about with Mormonism. And there's those massive points of doctrine that have to get addressed. But, a couple of things just to give them some context and to represent them the right way. I think the first thing we could do is they have this part of their beliefs, and it's called the Articles of Faith. And I'll just briefly go through this thing, but essentially in their Book of Mormon, they have a book that is called a triple combination. That's what they call it. And a quad or a quadruple combination is the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price.
And they're all binded together, right?
They're all bound together, and those 4 books is what they consider canon. And so normally you just hear about the Book of Mormon. So just to give you context to everything, everybody knows what the Bible is. I would say 100% of them use the King James Version. And, well, that's also the version the church uses for their copies. The Book of Mormon, everybody should know about. That's the other book they're very well known for. The Doctrine and Covenants, that is, well, just to give you some context on these two. So with the Book of Mormon, what they believe that is that there was a man named Joseph Smith. Everybody should know that name, at least if you know about Mormonism. Essentially what he claims is that he says that he found a book of golden plates buried in the ground that an angel directed him to. And this angel said to him that this book, this golden plates, the reason why it's gold, by the way, or what they say about it, is that this was ancient primitive technology, and the only way they could use writing that would preserve itself is to write on a metal. And because gold is so fragile and malleable, that it would be very easy to dig into the gold symbols with some type of, I don't want to say pencil, but some type of sharp piece of tool, essentially, so that you can write down, kind of like etching, I guess. And so anyways, that is what they claim. And so what the claim is that this Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ, except this testament of Jesus Christ is from the people who came from America. So the Native Americans, all the way back down to Jesus's time. And so the Book of Mormon is not something that Joseph Smith or the church claims that Joseph Smith wrote. It's a book that he found in a different language. He calls it Reformed Egyptian. And he was basically the translator of that book. He took that book from a language that you could not translate at that time, and he produced a book in the English language. And that's what this book is. And so that's what the Book of Mormon is. Now, the Doctrine and Covenants, that's another book, which is directly what the LDS Church and Joseph Smith claim is like church history from Joseph Smith's time, and also things and revelations and teachings that he gave to the people. Okay, so this isn't ancient America anymore. This is now during Joseph Smith's time. These are the things that he wrote and he taught to the people. Okay, and then the last thing is the Pearl of Great Price. That is a massive topic that might take too much time, but essentially, just to give you the bare minimum or the foundation of it, you can go look at that URL if you'd like to. What it came down to is that there were a lot of people that were criticizing Joseph Smith for the Book of Mormon. And they were essentially saying, if you're a prophet, where are the other miracles? Where's the other this or that? How are you tying yourself into the Bible? I'm not exactly sure on the exact arguments they were presenting to Joseph Smith, but Joseph Smith essentially produced this book called the Book of Abraham, and he also had a couple of other things, the Book of Moses, that is, there's so many things, but
I know.
Where I can at least cut this short, I believe, is that there was a So the only way I can say it is, but when it was the space age, everybody was so infatuated with spaceships and going up into space and seeing the
60s,
satellite.
70s. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that time, everybody was infatuated with that topic. Okay. So in Joseph Smith's time, everybody was infatuated with the topic of ancient Egypt. They were
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this topic and these people and all these relics and artifacts. And it was invigorating to speak about that stuff. And so at the time, there was a person who was a traveling salesman who was selling stuff that you would normally find in a museum. So he had, I think it was 11 mummies in their coffins, and the stuff that was inside of the coffins as well, which were like documents and different things. Anyways, because Joseph Smith was making the claim that the Book of Mormon was Reformed Egyptian before he translated it, members of the church heard this traveling salesman and brought the attention of Joseph and said, hey, this guy is selling stuff and he has scrolls and there's different documents and all that kind of stuff. Like, do you want to look at this stuff and see if you can translate that? And Joseph Smith essentially said to the traveling salesman, can I check it out before I want to buy it? He decided he did want to buy it. There were members of the church that all created a pool of money to buy, I believe, 4 of them, because they were the last 4 that he had. And then there were scrolls and papyri. That's a word you could look up easily on Google. And also, what's the word? Hyposyphilis, I believe is what they call it, which is like
good memory.
a medallion. I could probably show you an exact picture of it if I can find it in here. I'll keep looking as I'm talking, but
Yeah.
essentially what he did is he took those documents and the symbols and all that kind of stuff, and he essentially said, these scrolls and papyri and all this kind of stuff, here's actually one right here, writings inside those, and he essentially made a narrative of it. And he said, oh, you see this random person? That was Abraham. And this is the Pharaoh of Egypt. And here's a story of how, Abraham did this thing. And the thing that is weird is, first of all, there were issues about that. And we could go, honestly, you can see the episode to go into all the things wrong with
The ins and outs.
At the end of the day, the reason why it was created, I believe, coming from a place of leaving the church, is because Joseph Smith, I believe, was looking for an extra medium to present more doctrine. So these were places where he reinforced the whole race and the priesthood. There are topics of that in the Book of Abraham. There are aspects of his belief in who God is, how many gods are there, all of that kind of stuff that was also injected into this. And so the only way I can really describe this book from the place that I'm at right now is Joseph Smith is at a place where the Book of Mormon is already written or wrote, the best way to say that. And he needs another book to use to propagate more doctrine that he's supporting now that is not currently in the Book of Mormon. So it was just a medium to extend his beliefs, or to extend, here's more of the prophecy. I said this before, and look, now it's in this ancient scroll.
A lot of things that they believe aren't even in the Book of Mormon. It's in the Doctrine and Covenants. Yep. And so it's almost like they'll give you the Book of Mormon like it's a gateway drug. Yeah. And I remember reading it. I remember having, Mormon missionaries and reading it with them, but I told them I'd read it. And I remember thinking, I expected to find things like polygamy. I expected to find things like word of wisdom. I expected all the doctrines that we correlate with Mormons to be found in the Book of Mormon. And ironically, I found a lot of it contradicted it. Yeah. So in a way, sometimes you can use the Book of Mormon to show them why their beliefs are an error. It's almost like it's more in line with the Bible, not saying it's biblical, but he did plagiarize a lot of it. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. There's a lot of, the exact book inside the Book of Mormon fleets me which one it is, but I'm pretty sure it's inside of either the Book of Alma or the Book of Mosiah.
Like which, word for word, right?
Those names are names of prophets that are in the Book of Mormon is what the claim is. But essentially, maybe it was Second Nephi, because what the claim was, and the original story, I'll take like maybe 60 seconds on this, is that where the whole claim is about the Book of Mormon is that Jerusalem was about to be destroyed, and this is confirmed in the Old Testament. Jerusalem was being wicked, God is about to destroy it, and so there's this family who has Jewish heritage that decides to leave. and they leave and God directs them to build a boat. They build a boat via God's direction and they sail across the sea. They have this thing where if you have any context from the cultish episodes, there's this device that God sends them called the Liahona. And the Liahona is basically a compass that tells you where to go as long as you're faithful to God. And so if you're not faithful, all that thing did was just spin. You have no idea where to go. And if everybody was doing the right thing and everybody was following God, it would tell you exactly where to go.
And this is the story that you would find in the Book of Mormon explaining, or is this exactly. Okay.
The very first book inside the Book of Mormon called First Nephi. And so that is the narrative. That is what the Book of Mormon claims to be, is people of Jewish heritage coming from that side of the world to the Americas and building a civilization here.